My very first day, the beautiful CEO dragged me into playing a game and I instantly picked that pineapple dude, Marco Polo, to go jungle. Once in the game, I rushed straight to her blue buff, double-clicked provokingly and started mocking her like crazy. However, she just stared intently at my in-game ID, gritting her teeth. Big bro has the $100 you scammed from me 5 years ago been fully spent yet? With a cold snort, I suddenly felt a shiver run down my spine. 5 years ago, I catfished as a girl in-game to scam rich women, and this specific username, Oh Ginger, was the only catch I managed to hook. Back then, at the time, she was still just a sweet-voiced little sister. Every sentence started with Big Bro, and every other line was, Big Bro, please carry me. I sweet-talked and lied to her saying I wanted to buy a new skin, but was still short by 200 RMB. Without a single word, she transferred the money right away. The moment I got the cash, I blocked her instantly and vanished, completely evaporating from the face of the earth. But even in my wildest dreams, I never expected that 5 years later, under these exact circumstances, we would reunite like this. The cute rich girl from back then had suddenly transformed into my direct boss. Haha, boss Su. Could you have mistaken me for someone else? I just bought this account from someone else. Su Qingzhou gave a cold laugh, picked up another personal phone from the desk, and dialed a number directly. The next second, the phone in my pocket suddenly started vibrating like crazy. Awkwardly, the ringtone echoed through the completely silent office, sounding incredibly piercing. Dozens of pairs of eyes across the office simultaneously locked onto me. My legs turned to jelly, and my knees involuntarily buckled as I knelt down. Rich lady, have mercy. Stand up. Since it's really you, then the interest from the past 5 years, something we need to calculate very carefully. She picked her gaming phone back up as the match continued, but she stopped attacking the enemy team altogether and started chasing me all over the map, leaking my coordinates to the enemy. By the end of the match, my stats were too tragic to look at 0-21-0. After that, she casually hit me with a report, and my credit score got completely wiped out. Finally, she stood up and announced in front of the entire company staff, starting today, Lin Kui is being transferred to be the CEO's special assistant. Move his desk into my office. Under everyone's deeply sympathetic gazes, my desk was moved right under her nose. She even gave me a task to count every single ant in the flower bed downstairs. For every one missing 100 RMB will be deducted from your salary. Looking at the scorching sun outside the window, I completely froze, but escaping now was impossible. I didn't even dare to complain, so in the end, I had to stand there counting ants all afternoon under the blazing sun until a layer of my skin peeled off, returning to my rented room that night. The more I thought about it, the more wronged I felt. Fine, I can just ditch this trash job. The very next day, I rushed straight to HR to submit my resignation. The female employee looked at me with pure pity, then handed me a contract. Lin Kui, take another look at your contract. Party B. Lin Kui, if you voluntarily resign within the contract period, you must pay a breach of contract fine to Party A of 2 million RMB. 2 million RMB? Is this woman a demon? Just because of 200 RMB, she'd actually go this far. I could only swallow my bitterness and head back to the CEO's office to keep enduring her torture. Lin Kui, brew me a cup of coffee. I brought the coffee over, she took a single sip, and poured it right down at my feet. Too hot. Too cold. Too much sugar. No sugar added. Just like that, she made me run back and forth over a dozen times. I felt like my legs didn't even belong to me anymore. Just when I thought the torture was finally over, she issued yet another new directive. The company is about to implement a new corporate culture. As my special assistant, you must lead by example. So starting tomorrow, cosplay as a game character to work every day. Cosplay what now? Tomorrow, let's start with that pineapple dude you like so much. And so the very next day, a grown man 6 feet tall and weighing 180 pounds like me put on a super tight cosplay outfit, donned that pineapple dude's wig, and walked all around the company. Wherever I went, I could hear unstoppable laughter echoing. My dignity that day was pretty much thrown straight to the ground and stepped on repeatedly. During the department briefing, Su Qingzhou crossed the line even further. She pointed at the financial report on the projector, then told me, Assistant Lin, please use that pineapple dude's voice to read this financial report out loud for everyone. I had to repress myself hard not to throw the report right in her face, reading in a totally unhinged tone. Seeing you guys reminds me of a certain dude. He owes me 200 RMB. After the meeting ended, I was in the break room gossiping with my colleagues, saying that Su Qingzhou was an old witch. Who would have thought I'd get caught red-handed by her on the spot? However, she didn't get angry at all. Instead, she evaluated me with pure amusement. Since you called me an old witch, where's my broom? I'll give you half an hour to go buy me a broom that looks exactly like a witch's and bring it back here. Oh right, you have to ride it on your way back. And so, under the gazes of pedestrians and traffic cops, I rode a broom back to the company. Su Qingzhou stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window of her office, watching my ridiculous appearance on the surveillance camera, and a genuine heartfelt smile finally appeared on the corner of her lips, even if it was a mocking smile. That evening, she forced me to stay behind for overtime all by myself. On top of that, she ordered a whole table full of my favorite crawfish, BBQ, and fried chicken, then casually sat down to eat right in front of my face, absolutely refusing to let me have even a single bite. Do you know how that feels now? This is exactly how I felt back then, waiting with a growling stomach for you to get online and carry me in the game. Just when I thought I would have to keep living in this absolute hell, the arrival of an uninvited guest completely shattered that peaceful atmosphere. He carried a striking bouquet of 999 roses and barged straight into the CEO's office. Qingzhou, I'm back. Wei Xingjian, who let you in here? Wei Xingjian. Completely ignoring her cold face, he deliberately stepped closer, striking a pose he thought looked handsome. Girl, stop playing hard to get. Don't you know you're playing with fire? What era is this? that anyone is still using this kind of cringe. Overbearing CEO dialogue Su Qingzhou was clearly annoyed to the point of breaking. She rolled her eyes, and all of a sudden, grabbed the guy who was still wearing the pineapple dude's cosplay outfit, which was me standing nearby, and dragged me over. Let me introduce you. This is my boyfriend. What? Wait, what? Wei Xingjian's gaze instantly shot toward me like daggers, as if wanting to bore 2 holes right through my body. He whipped a checkbook out of his pocket, swiped his pen, and wrote down a sequence of numbers. I'll give you 5 million. Leave her. 5 million. I had never seen so much money in my entire life. My hand subconsciously reached out, but the very next second an excruciating pain shot up from the top of my foot. Su Qingzhou's 10cm stiletto heels stomped down hard right on my foot. It hurt so much that I gasped for air. She leaned close to my ear, her voice soft yet deadly. Just try taking it. You're dead meat. Pain made me grimace and widen my eyes. Survival instinct kicking in, I held back my tears and rejected the check right in front of my face. My love for Qingzhou is priceless. Fine, you just wait. I'll make sure you have no place left to stand in this city. Who do you think you are? My dog is mine alone to bully, sandwiched between 2 weirdos with overwhelming auras. I felt like I was about to suffocate that very night, taking advantage of the dead of night. I stealthily packed my ragged bag and bought a train ticket back to my hometown overnight. Escape, I definitely have to escape. Who cares about that 2 million RMB breach of contract fine anyway? This daddy is quitting. Worst case scenario, I'll just go back to the village and farm. I refuse to believe that Su Qingzhou can actually chase me all the way to this mountain village. The moment the train started moving, I watched the city lights flash past outside the window, receding rapidly, and let out a long sigh of relief. Hey, goodbye old witch, Lin Kui is finally free. Returning to the village, my whole body felt revitalized. Stripping off that suffocating cosplay outfit and changing into shorts and flip-flops, I felt like I had become that rowdy village alpha from back in the day again. My grandmother was so happy to see me return that she couldn't stop smiling. Ki, why are you back? Weren't you able to adjust to the city, grandson? That city place is no environment for human beings. Our hometown is still way better for making a living. For the next 2 days, I completely let my hair down, leading a bunch of snotty-nosed kids around every single day to play Honor of Kings at the grocery store at the entrance of the village. As I was showing off my mechanics, I also flexed to them about my past. Golden era. Remember back then, your big bro Kui was the #1 Marco Polo on the entire national server. Even the absolute best dual-wielding players had to call me master when they saw me. The kids looked at me with admiring eyes, immensely satisfying my vanity. Suddenly, on the only dirt road at the entrance of the village, dust started flying everywhere. A Maybach that I had only ever seen online approached from a distance, its luxurious vibe looking completely out of place with the road. The people working out in the fields, the people playing cards inside their houses, and everyone chilling under the trees were all startled, crowding around one after another to watch the excitement. Good heavens, what car is this fake? That's way cooler than the village chief's tractor. How many ears of corn do I have to sell just to afford this thing? Under the curious attention of the entire village, the Maybach finally stopped right in front of me. The car door opened, and a haughty leg wearing a 10cm stiletto heel stepped out first, after which that foot accurately stepped right into a pile of fresh cow dung by the roadside. Su Qingzhou, she actually chased me all the way here for real. Su Qingzhou, ignoring the filth under her foot, walked straight through the surrounding crowd and approached me with pure murderous intent. Lin Kui, did you think that by hiding in this remote corner of the mountains, you wouldn't have to pay back that 200 RMB anymore? The gossip-loving gazes of the villagers kept darting back and forth between the two of us. They started whispering and buzzing in each other's ears. The rare college student of our village actually owes someone else a mere 200 RMB. But this girl is also quite something. Driving such a fancy car all the way here just for 200 RMB. That's way too petty. Su Qingzhou was shaking with pure rage. She wanted to explain, but realized that trying to clarify it to these villagers would be completely useless. In the end, she could only vent all her anger onto my head. She pointed at her stiletto heel covered in cow dung. Wipe it clean for me. Looking at that tragic stiletto heel, and her face about to breathe fire, I felt a sudden wave of satisfaction in my heart. However, the chatter of the villagers grew louder and louder, and their speculations became increasingly unhinged. This girl doesn't look like the petty type. Could it be that Kui scammed her heart? Don't tell me she got pregnant, which is why she came all the way here looking for the baby daddy. My head was about to explode. I feared that if I let her keep making a scene any longer, my reputation would be utterly ruined. I could only grit my teeth, pull a handful of grass nearby, suppress my nausea, and help her scrape off the cow dung on her shoe. Su Qingzhou, seeing my miserable expression, finally felt a little better. Her expression finally softened up a bit. She announced that until I fully paid off my debt, she wasn't going anywhere and would just stay at my place. My grandmother, upon hearing this, was absolutely overjoyed. She didn't understand anything about debts. She only saw me bringing home a girl as beautiful as a descending fairy. Oh my, this girl is gorgeous. Is she our Kui's girlfriend? What on earth? But Su Qingzhui's absolute nightmare officially began the exact moment she stepped foot into my courtyard. First, she spotted that thing in the corner of the yard. A makeshift toilet put together with bricks and fibro sheets. Farmer Joe, 11 months. Her face turned completely pale on the spot. I helped Grandma tidy up for her the room my younger sister used to live in before getting married. A rock-hard wooden bed, covered with a red and green floral blanket washed to a faded color. There's no spring mattress. We only have woven mats here. Are you gonna sleep on it or what? In the middle of the night, I was woken up by a blood-curdling shriek, echoing from the room next door. Mosquitoes, there are mosquitoes. Link, you get your butt over here right now. Gloating, I found her a pair of Grandma's floral cloth shoes, and an outfit my mom used to wear when she was young. Boss Su, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. The next day, when Su Qingzhou, dressed in a flawless village girl outfit, stepped out of her room, I almost spat out my rice laughing. No cap, this outfit actually suits you pretty well. Lin Kui, I'm hungry. I want a medium rare steak. I gave a smirk, turned around and went into the kitchen, then served her a plate of fish mint salad, stir-fried cilantro, and braised fatty pork. Su Qingzhou stared at the table, filled with dishes that challenged the very limits of human taste buds. Her expression shifted, repeatedly, but to uphold her overbearing CEO dignity. She forced herself to take a bite of fish mint and put it in her mouth. The next second, she dashed straight into the yard, throwing up violently. That night, she was terrified of the dark and didn't dare sleep alone, making me drag a stool out to sit and guard her bedroom door. On top of that, she clutched the hem of my shirt tightly, refusing to let go. Boss Su, if you keep pulling and tugging like this, it counts as workplace sexual harassment, you know? Shut up. Having you on night watch is your absolute honor. Looking at her, she was clearly scared to death, but still stubbornly talked tough. I suddenly felt this female demon didn't seem that detestable after all. Early the next morning, a massive, roaring sound woke the entire Peach Blossom village up. I jolted awake, rushed out of the courtyard, and saw a white private helicopter, shakily landing on the drying yard at the entrance of the village. The propellers whipped up a fierce gale, blowing away the wig of Old Man Hai, who was doing his morning exercises. Before the chopper even fully landed, Wei Xingjian flexed holding a bouquet of blue roses, looking enchanting. He struck a pose he thought was incredibly cool to step down. As a result, the moment he stood firm, the pungent stench wafting from the pigsty next door made him gag on the spot, holding his nose. He took one look and locked onto his target, Su Qingzhou, who was wearing a large floral padded jacket in the crowd. His face instantly filled with deep, excruciating heartbreak, as if seeing a holy maiden in distress. Qingzhou, I'm here to save you. How dare he make you suffer like this? How can this poor ragged place be worthy of you? Saying that, he whipped out his checkbook again. This time, he spoke directly to the village chief, who had just rushed over after hearing the news. I'll give you 10 million RMB. Sell this ragged village to me. I want right here to build the most luxurious resort in the world for Qingzhou. Right in this very village. You little punk, what did you just say? Want to dig up our ancestral graves? Seeing that a physical altercation was about to break out, Su Qingzhou suddenly stepped forward, doing something that made everyone's jaws drop in shock. She proactively walked over, linked her arm with mine, leaned into me, and flashed a sweet smile at Wei Xingjian. So sorry, but I only like the primitive nature here. And I also like this primitive man. Wei Xingjian didn't buy it. He believed Su Qingzhou was being forced by me. He immediately challenged me. Fine. You want to prove you're better than me, right? Then let's have a match. Let's compete in planting rice, the thing you village folk are best at. I looked at his flawless, custom-tailored luxury suit and those shiny leather shoes, then flashed a devilish smirk. Fine then. Heaven has a path, but you chose to ignore it. Hell has no gate, but you barged right in. Today, I'll give you a real eye-opener on what a true primitive man looks like. The news about the rice planting match spread like it grew wings, flying all across Peach Blossom Village. The young and the old in the village, men, women, old and young, all brought their stools, grabbed some melon seeds, and rushed to the paddy field at the east end of the village, getting ready to watch this clash of the century. Wei Xingjian confidently and majestically prepared to step into the mud. The moment he stepped one foot in, his entire body became like a radish, sinking deep into the muddy swamp, unable to pull himself out. The entire audience burst out laughing. I expertly stepped into the field barefoot, my movements as smooth as flowing water, and in a flash, a perfectly straight row of rice seedlings was already planted. Wei Xingjian struggled in the mud for half the day, and by the time he finally managed to pull himself out, he had turned into a mud monster. Just as he was about to take another step, he suddenly let out a blood-curdling shriek. What the hell is biting me? In pure horror, he lifted his lower leg. A pitch-black leech was clamped tightly onto his leg, sucking his blood. Wei Xingjian was so terrified that he screamed bloody murder, completely destroying his image. Su Qingzhou stood on the ridge of the field, and seeing this ridiculous sight, she doubled over laughing so hard that she couldn't even stand up straight anymore. However, Wei Xingjian still refused to accept defeat, crawling out of the mud to propose a second event. I don't accept this. Let's do a second round. Catching geese, he pointed at the flock of white geese flexing their authority at the entrance of the village. Looking full of confidence, I almost spat out my drink. In this village, who doesn't know that this flock of white geese belonging to Old Man Hai is literally the fighter jets of the village? Even dogs are terrified of them. Sure enough, the moment Wei Xingjian got close, the alpha goose boss stretched its neck out long and led a mob of its lackeys to charge straight at him. The scene that followed could only be described as absolute carnage. Wei Xingjian was chased by the flock of geese running for his life down the village road, crying for his parents. The alpha goose accurately pecked right at his butt, causing his expensive dress pants to be ripped open with several holes. Su Qingzhou laughed so hard that tears welled up in her eyes. In the end, I was the one who couldn't bear to watch any longer, rushing up to grab the alpha goose tightly by its neck, lifting it clean off the ground to finally rescue a Wei Xingjian whose butt was being pecked to shreds. He stood there dazed, his face covered in mud, as the ripped part of his pants made a sudden ripping sound. Su Qingzhou wiped away the tears from laughing so hard, cleared her throat, and loudly announced the match results in front of the villagers. I officially declare the winner of this village match to be Lin Kui. Your reward is Lin Kui. Take all the clothes I changed out of yesterday and wash them clean for me. How does this even count as a reward? That evening, the village cut the power for power line maintenance. With no phones and no TV, the entire village sank into a serene, quiet night. Su Qingzhou and I climbed onto the roof looking up at the brilliant starry sky above, the kind you can never see in the city. The summer night breeze carried the scent of soil and wild grass, blowing past us, feeling incredibly comfortable. Back then, why did you lie to me? Why did you block me right after scamming my money? I stayed silent. This question was like a thorn, stuck deep in my heart for the past 5 years. Back then, my mother was sick and urgently needed a sum of money for surgery. I had no other choice, which was why I came up with the idea to scam money online. But after successfully scamming the money, I felt incredibly plagued by guilt, feeling like I had no face left to look at you. So I just blocked you outright. Qingzhou said nothing, just listening in silence. Actually, that 200 RMB. The very next day, I found a way to use the in-game gifting feature to return vouchers back to you. It's just that you probably didn't realize it. Qingzhou dazed out. She pulled out her phone and used her god-tier hacking skills to pull up the transaction history from 5 years ago. She searched through the transaction history for a long time. Finally, on a day 5 years ago, she found a record of a 2,000 voucher gift. The misunderstanding was resolved, but the atmosphere became way more delicate and ambiguous. She lowered her head, her voice as soft as a mosquito buzzing. Then you're still a scammer. You scammed me out of my trust. Don't you know back then my parents had just divorced and the house was in absolute chaotic shambles. Nobody cared about me at all. And my entire world back then only had you at that time. I really considered you a very important friend. My heart felt like it was hit hard by something. So that was how it was. It turned out that behind that 200 RMB, there was such a story hidden away. I looked at her exquisite side profile under the moonlight, less of her usual coldness and bossiness, and a bit more fragile and soft. I suddenly felt this female demon didn't seem that scary after all. Wei Xingjian stayed at the town clinic for a day, and the next day he came back flexing his muscles again. This time he didn't pull those flashy, ostentatious stunts anymore, but directly called a bunch of guys in black suits and sunglasses a mob of bodyguards to block the only road leading into the village entrance. I've already finalized things with the investors. We are preparing to buy out this piece of land from your village to build a chemical plant right here. When that time comes, your picturesque Page Blossom village with its beautiful waters will turn into nothing but a foul-smelling ditch. The villagers were all enraged simultaneously, grabbing farming tools to surround them. Qingzhou's face darkened. She took a step forward, shielding the villagers and me. Wei Xingjian, what you're doing is illegal. Wei Xingjian let out a cold laugh, completely ignoring her words. He winked at the bodyguards, and two of them immediately stepped forward. One on the left and one on the right, grabbing Qingzhui's arms, wanting to force her into the car. Qingzhui! I took a deep breath, put 2 fingers into my mouth, and blew a loud piercing whistle. The next second, hundreds of our village dogs rushed out from all directions, forming a massive black wave, instantly surrounding Wei Xingjian's convoy. In a flash, dung scoops and rotten vegetable leaves flew everywhere. Dogs barking, mingled with people screaming. Those bodyguards who were used to acting arrogant in the city had never seen this kind of battlefield before. They were beaten to a pulp by the villagers and fled in absolute ruins. Taking advantage of the chaos, I rushed to the car, swung the shovel in my hand, and smashed it hard against the car window. A loud crash echoed as the car window shattered completely. The broken glass shards cut my hand, causing blood to pour out heavily. I didn't even have time to care about it, reaching my hand inside to unlock the car door and pulling Qingzhui out of the car in one swift motion. Are you okay? Qingzhou looked at my blood-covered hand. On her usually calm face, pure panic was clearly visible for the very first time. Your hand is his own way. Xingjian was completely scared out of his wits, amidst the cursing of the entire village and the warm send-off from the pack of dogs. He scrambled back into his car and dejectedly sped away. I looked back at Qingzhui, whom I was shielding. Behind me, she was looking at me too, and in those eyes, an emotion I couldn't quite grasp was welling up. Returning home, Grandma saw my injured hand and was so heartbroken that tears fell. Qingzhui brought the medical kit out from the room and carefully helped me clean the wound. Her bandaging technique was very clumsy, but incredibly gentle. The antiseptic touching the wound stung like hell, but I didn't make a single sound. Grandma stood nearby watching the whole thing with a deeply satisfied expression. Our Kui has truly grown up. He already knows how to protect his wife. This granddaughter-in-law Grandma approves of her completely. With hips like these, she's definitely going to be fertile. Qingzhui's face instantly flushed red all the way to her ears. This was the very first time I had ever seen her blush like that. Ever since that day, the atmosphere between us completely changed. She no longer brought up that 200 RMB debt, nor did she mention the breach of contract fine anymore. She ditched her stiletto heels and corporate suits, changing into cloth shoes and casual clothes, and started following me to the river to catch fish and into the forest to pick mushrooms. She was a really fast learner, going from being completely clumsy at the beginning to getting a real knack for it later on. That day, while we were catching fish by the riverbank, she suddenly spoke up. Lin Kui, I'm not going back anymore. I'm staying here to be your woman. Say what? Looking at her deadpan expression, I hurriedly took 2 steps back. Don't, Boss Sue, stop joking around. I can't afford to take care of you. A single meal of yours costs half a month of my salary. Qingzhou didn't say a word, just stepping closer and cornering me, pinning me against a massive tree. She slightly tilted her chin up, radiating her signature overbearing and aggressive vibe. Fine then, I'll take care of you. Follow me back to the company and be my exclusive assistant. I opened my mouth, fully intending to reject her, but she pulled out from her pocket the contract that I thought she'd keep locked away forever, the 2 million RMB breach of contract fine, and ripped it into shreds right in front of my face. The debt is wiped clean. You belong to me. My heart pounded so fast it felt like it was going to jump right out of my chest. Looking at my completely dazed stone-faced expression, a mischievous smirk played on the corner of her lips. She leaned right next to my ear, using a voice only I could hear. If you still don't agree, I'll expose to the entire village how you catfished as a girl 5 years ago and scammed me out of my money online. Fine, you win. In the end, I was escorted by her back to the city, returning to the company. Everything had changed. The way my colleagues looked at me shifted from pity to shock and then turned into pure respect. That low-ranking special assistant who used to wear cosplay outfits now actually dared to confidently lounge on the sofa in the CEO's office using the boss's personal computer to play games. Meanwhile, that ice-cold female CEO not only didn't get angry, but even personally served him tea, poured water, and peeled fruits for him. When Su Qingzhou was in meetings, she was still that decisive queen whose word was absolute law. But everyone could notice that the moment her gaze brushed past me, that coldness would instantly melt away, becoming as gentle as water. After work hours, our world for two would officially begin. Grinding ranks together became our fixed daily routine. It's just that this time, the roles were completely reversed. I casually picked a Yao, acting like a piece of accessory sitting comfortably on top of her head, while she carried with Marco Polo, absolutely slaughtering everyone in the honor of King's Arena, while she was carrying me to easy wins in the game. There were always some clueless teammates, flaming me for being a boy toy and a parasite. Every single time that happened, Su Qingzhou would turn on the team mic and use her cold and overbearing voice to clap back. I like carrying him, so what? This is the hubby I spent 200 RMB to buy back then. Got a problem with that. Looking at her overbearing declarations on the phone screen, I smiled, helplessly but with pure affection. Although, at first I only intended to scam her for a skin. Who on earth would have thought that in the end I'd pay with my entire life instead?